The news of the day is full of troubles, problems that challenge our time. Here is one we'd like you to think about. Let's look at it from the point of view of three families. One lives in a ground floor apartment, another on the second floor, another on the third floor. These are all sincere, hard-working people. Henry, the father of this family, is a bank teller. He and his wife are anxious to be good parents. They dislike race prejudice and religious prejudice and want their son to grow up free of that sort of nonsense. Now, Henry believes that the main thing is to set a good example. If a child sees good attitudes at home, Henry says he'll grow up with good attitudes. So Henry sets an example. So does his wife. Confidently, they watch the effect on Henry Jr. Then, one day, the little angel comes home looking like a little monster. He's been in a fight. When asked about it, he says, "That Jewish boy started it. Wait till the gang gets hold of him, they'll fix him good. They'll fix those blankety-blanks. Meanwhile, their neighbors on the floor below have been going about things differently. George, the father, is an insurance salesman, and he also favors friendly relations. But he feels that if you want your kid to have the right attitude, you have to give him the right facts. Facts, information. That's the key to it, says George. So George Jr. gets a lot of information. Quote, "There are three main races in the world," unquote. Quote, "All three races have made important contributions to culture and civilization," unquote. As Junior acquires more and more knowledge, George and his wife become very confident that all this will keep their son free of prejudice. But one day the bookworm turns. Junior comes home looking like a little tramp. He's been in a fight, and he explains it this way. "Those colored kids are always starting it. Wait till I get the gang together." Meanwhile, the family on the ground floor has been going about things in a still different way. Fred, who is sergeant at arms at the courthouse, also favors friendliness between races and religions, but he feels it has to be backed by law and order. So, one day when his kid uses some language Fred doesn't like, Fred tells him right away he'll be thrashed if he does it again. Junior seems to understand all right, but one day he has a little trouble. It's those Italian kids again, those blankety-blanks. We're gonna fix them. So, Fred and his wife, George and his wife, and Henry and his wife begin to wonder what they've done wrong. They begin to watch their children more closely. They begin to see what a complicated world their children live in, full of tension and conflict. These start early for any child. From the very beginning, he hears voices of authority that say, "No, no, no." This builds resentment in any child. He learns it is not safe to let this resentment out on spokesmen of authority. So he looks for other, safer targets. Some young people find harmless ways of working off their aggressive feelings. But in others, these feelings turn into hidden hate. When such people get together in a gang, the hate can become more dangerous, looking for expression, looking for easy targets, finding justification in any differences, such as religion or race, sometimes with tragic results. In a world in which such tensions exist, what can parents do about prejudice? We have learned to protect our children against smallpox and diphtheria. How can we find some antitoxin against this other disease? If the methods of these parents were not adequate, why weren't they? What should these parents do? What is your advice? How can we immunize our children against prejudice? problem, how can we immunize our children against prejudice, has been the subject of our discussion. No, we haven't settled the problem. We've looked at some of the solutions that are tried by people like Henry and George and Fred, but no, we haven't quite solved the problem. So give it further thought, won't you? Because here is one of the problems that challenge our time.